I want to first thank the county executive and Director Ortiz, my good friend who serves with me on the Chesapeake Bay Water Resources and Policy Committee, who is dedicated to environmental stewardship and making sure that the healthiness of the Chesapeake Bay remains a priority for all of us in this region. It is incredibly important. Chesapeake Bay Awareness Week, unfortunately, was last week, June 5th through the 13th. But certainly one in which, because we were on recess, needed to still be honored and lifted up. And I hope that residents not only reap the benefits of the great things of the Chesapeake Bay, whether it's enjoying the oysters or the rockfish or the crabs and all of the great fish that come out of the Chesapeake Bay, all of those things, but also what it means in terms of its role in our environment. The oyster population that now is beginning to thrive again, that helps to filter and clean the bay, that makes our waterways as a whole healthier and cleaner for all kinds of different animals and fauna and flora that are about in the environment, really is a big deal. And it's one that also represents economic development, because when you think about all of the fishermen and watermen that are out there, the female blue crab population has increased, but unfortunately, the juvenile and overall crab population is a little bit below average. So we've got some good and some bad things that are happening, but we can do our part. We banned coal tar, and being stewards of 1,500 miles of streams is incredibly important in making sure that we can have that water that's as clean as possible. Water certainly is incredibly important to us. Great work is being done across the region when it comes to stream cleanups, when it comes to stormwater management efforts, people putting in rain gardens and green roofs and all kinds of things that help to contribute to the healthiness of the Chesapeake Bay. It is a daily obligation, not just one during Chesapeake Bay Awareness Week, but it is a daily obligation that we are stewards of this incredible resource that we have here in this region that is our Chesapeake Bay. And so, Mr. Chair, I want to turn it over to you. Unfortunately, as you addressed, County Executive Elrich isn't able to join us this morning, but I know his commitment and passion and devotion to environmental stewardship as well, and want to turn it over to you as chair of the Council's Transportation, Energy, and Environment Committee.
Thanks so much, Councilmember. I obviously agree with everything you've said. Chesapeake Bay Awareness Week is a great annual reminder of all the work we have ahead of us and how far we have come, but how quickly the environmental threats to our bay and the rest of our environment continue to grow. And it's a chance to recommit ourselves to this mission that many of us have been involved in for decades. Maryland has to stay a leader in addressing the threats to the Chesapeake Bay, because we are the most important state in the whole watershed, and the other states usually lag our progress, and we have to really lead the fight in protecting our Chesapeake Bay, and frankly, Montgomery County has to lead the Maryland fight. So many of the protections we've passed at the county level have turned into statewide protections. Last year, I sponsored a ban on balloon releases that the council passed unanimously, but then that became statewide legislation that was passed this year in the General Assembly. And there's many other examples like that. This year, the council also, as you all know, updated our existing restrictions on plastic straws and polystyrene food containers with Director Ortiz's hard work, which updated longstanding restrictions we had in place that Councilmember Reamer started many years ago before I even served on the council. And you all know the Bay is not just our most defining feature in Maryland. It's really central to our economy. It's responsible for thousands of jobs. And thanks to the legislation we've passed at the local and state level, the Bay's been making progress, but it continues to have more threats, including the governor's expansion plans for 495 and 270, which have severe stormwater implications that our Planning Commission has been very, very concerned about, as well as many of our nonprofit environmental groups in the watershed. So we have to keep our eye on that as well. But I want to thank both of you for your longstanding commitment to these issues, and I want to thank all the advocates who fight tirelessly every day to make sure we have a clean and healthy Bay. Director Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here with all of you again for this commemoration. There's so many people to tip our hat to. Councilman Rice, you and I have been allies on this issue for, I won't date ourselves, but a long time, and Mr. Hucker as well, and Mr. Reamer. You know, so many names I see in front of me on the screen have been leaders, and to make a difference in our environment really is an all hands on deck enterprise. And in the last 40 years, you know, this country has provided more of a focus on clean water and making that a priority in our regulations and our policies. But it really comes to life with the little things that we all do every day. And, you know, some folks watching at home might be like, well, Chesapeake Bay, is that really an Anne Arundel issue? Isn't that, you know, something Annapolis needs to be concerned about? But, you know, the Chesapeake Bay includes every single one of us. It includes our driveways, our sidewalks, everything, because we're all in the Bay watershed. And whether you're close to the Potomac or the Anacostia or the Patuxent, it's all one big watershed, and it's all connected, and it all makes a difference. So all those things matter. As you said, Mr. President, this county has been a leader for a long time, leading the pack on the amount of impervious restoration, on the amount of best management practices to control stormwater, on policy, from the bag tax to the straw ban more recently, and the balloon a release ban. All those things matter, and we still have a lot to do. And all of us are a little frustrated. We're like, well, things aren't going fast enough, and the, you know, crabs haven't rebounded like they should, like they did back in the day, and the oysters haven't either. But we are seeing signs of progress, and the councilman is right. We are seeing these signs of progress, and we have to be mindful that we're undoing 4 centuries of devastation to the Bay. And in the few decades we've been working, we've been making a difference, and we still have far to go. So, Mr. President, Mr. Councilman, all the little things matter. I want to encourage everybody. All these little things that we do every day, whether you skip the straw, when you go to a restaurant, bring your reusable bags, make a restaurant, picking up after your pet makes a difference. Please do that. And picking up litter, you know, on your walks or your jogs, you know, all those things add up and make a difference, and continue to provide pressure and feedback to me and my department. I see Frank Dawson, who heads our watershed restoration division. We want your feedback, folks, because we need to be responsive to clean up our environment. So, Mr. President, I'll stop there. Thank you. County Executive Elrich regrets that he couldn't make it today, but I was glad he couldn't, because I'm passionate about this, and I wanted, you know, a chance to get up on my soapbox and celebrate Chesapeake Bay awareness with all of you, my good friends and allies for a long time. So thank you.
Right. It's appropriate time for you to be in the spotlight. Director Ortiz, thanks for all your good work, and Mr. Dawson's as well, and everybody at DEP and your whole team. And thanks for the reminder. One of my favorite signs of, I think it's yours, not the parks, but it might be parks, is that there's no poop fairy. After your dog. I see those all the time when I'm running in the park.
Yeah, we'll take credit for that.
Yeah. Okay. That was clever. Councilmember, should I start the proclamation? Do you have it in front of you?
Yep. I'm going to start, and then we're going to go 2 by 2. So, all right. Proclamation, Montgomery County, Maryland. Whereas the Chesapeake Bay Estuary, the nation's largest and 3rd largest in the world, spans across 6 states: Delaware, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia, and the District of Columbia, serving as a vital environmental, recreational, and an economic resource to the approximately 18 million people who live within its watershed and those who visit the region. And whereas the Chesapeake Bay was targeted as the first estuary in the nation to receive congressional support for restoration and protection, with Montgomery County being one of the first in the nation to implement a stormwater management program in 1972, and
whereas Montgomery County was Maryland's first jurisdiction to successfully tackle Maryland's ambitious 20% impervious acre restoration requirement, and has pursued a comprehensive approach to treat stormwater from impervious acres of roofs, roads, and parking lots by utilizing green, innovative practices that reduce the pollutants in local streams and rivers and help restore the Chesapeake Bay. And whereas all 1,500 miles of streams in Montgomery County flow into the Bay, and joint efforts by local governments and residents have a direct and significant impact on the health of the Bay and on our region's economy and culture. And
whereas Montgomery County, joining other local jurisdictions and organizations, has annually commemorated the first week of June as Chesapeake Bay Awareness Week, with events and programming designed to mark the progress, as well as to educate residents on the need to continue efforts critical for the protection and restoration of the Chesapeake Bay. Now, therefore, do we, County Executive Mark Elrich, Tom Hucker, Council President, and myself, hereby proclaim June 5th through 13th as Chesapeake Bay Awareness Week in Montgomery County, and we encourage all residents to recognize the importance of the Chesapeake Bay to our economy, to our environment, and to engage in activities that will help preserve and sustain our county watersheds and the Chesapeake Bay. Congratulations, and thank you to everyone who continues to be a steward for the Chesapeake Bay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
thank you, Councilmember. Thanks to everybody at DEP, Parks, everybody on your team. Very much appreciate all your hard work.